Here are the 71 worst or craziest things that have ever happened in my 17-year career as a real estate investor. And I tell you these things so you don't make the same mistakes that I made, but I also tell you these things to tell you that you can be as big of a dumbass as me and still become a multimillionaire through real estate investing. So let's get into it. This is going to be rapid fire. I made a list. I'm going through each one of them. Here we go. Northmore. Duplex that sank 12 inches because of buried organic waste, something that I had never seen before. Basically, this new division had gotten built, and this site in particular is where they put all the organic waste like trees and brush and such. They built over the top of it, and over time, all the organic waste went away. Everything was able to sink. It was a humongous, expensive nightmare for me. Okay, Altamira. This was the saddest, most disgusting house I ever bought. I buy a lot of houses that are derelict. This particular one was disgusting to where people would walk in and they'd throw up. There was dogs crapping everywhere. There was clothes piled up so high. However, the worst part of all is the people touring it to me were living there, still living there with a young teenage daughter that was showing the room that she slept in, and there was 2 inches thick dog crap on the floor. It was very sad. Some things that most people are not going to get exposed to. Next, West 38th. This property totally renovated. It was getting ready for rent. All of a sudden the HVAC stopped working. Couldn't figure out why. We went into the crawl space, found out that there was a family living in the crawl space. They had pulled down the insulation to use as blankets. Yeah, the pink stuff. And then they cut out a piece of the copper tubing for the HVAC, probably to use for their own vices. Okay, the murder house. I call it the murder house because it was a tenant turnover. We found trails of blood all throughout. The people had vanished. We could only guess what happened. But the best part about this is the house next door got raided by the DEA. Is that the right ones? Yeah. They had a prostitution ring next door. Place got raided. It was also, I think, crack house or whatever. Yeah, well, there you go. It's in the news. You can probably find it. Basswood, HVAC stolen off the property. We put a new HVAC unit in, and somebody comes and steals it. And I have to put in a new HVAC system. Here's the problem. They did it again. Okay, I know. Fool me twice, shame on me. And then anyway, we get past this and they graffiti the new vinyl siding that we put in. So all kinds of damage to the property. This kind of stuff will happen to you. Okay, 13th Street. Oh boy, this one was literally sinking. Okay, the city had come by and said that we had to do something about it, cracking throughout the foundation or whatnot. And you know what? I'm confusing this with a different one. No, the city did not come in on this one. This one was because we had to get an appraisal done for a refinance. And when we went to get the refinance done, the appraiser came out and said, hey, this foundation's broken. And so we had to get a structural engineer to write us a letter saying what we had to do to make it, structurally sufficient. And basically that came to having to go into the crawl space, which was only 12 inches deep. And we had to build piers all the way around and basically build a foundation inside of the foundation. I mean, we're talking a $50,000 or $60,000 job just to do the refinance. Funny enough, to do a cash out refinance, which we needed the cash out refinance to finance the $50,000 or $60,000 job. Hilarious, I know. Okay, Lincoln, another failed foundation. Bought this house. I was going to do a pop top. This was early in my career. I didn't know jack about construction at the time. And sure enough, you go to put a second story on a house. Turns out it puts a lot more pressure on the house. Therefore, the foundation that was there might not be sufficient. This was in Colorado, where the frost line is 3 feet deep. Therefore, this 18-inch deep foundation sure wasn't going to cut it. And what we had to do is from inside the house, pull up the floors, dig underneath. You might be asking why I didn't do it from the outside. It's because I was a chicken shit about permits at the time, and I hadn't had permits yet. Obviously, I got them later, but I didn't know how the whole thing works. So from inside, dug out next to the foundation, and then like 5 or 10 foot sections at a time so I didn't disrupt anything. Then propped up the house in that section, knocked out the wall, dug up underneath it, built a new 3 foot deep foundation the right way, 10 feet at a time, all the way around the house. It was a long month. That's what I'd have to say. Had to dig it by hand, obviously, and wheelbarrow out the dirt. Pretty miserable, but we got through it. Okay, Snow Hill. This one, I go to do add a bedroom. All right. And I didn't realize at the time you go to add a bedroom, and what the city wants to see is they want to see if the septic can handle that many bedrooms. And sure enough, it couldn't, because what you have to do is you have to go get somebody to come look at it. And this one in particular had been hand built. Okay, it wasn't like one of those tanks you put in the ground. Hand built with cinder block. Not doing a good job, by the way. Lots of leaks in that thing. And well, we had to take that out and put it in the right size, which I thought wasn't going to be a big deal. You just come in there and dig. It wasn't a big deal till they hit rock and had to jackhammer out every inch of the space that they needed for that septic. Eesh. Okay, Orchard Knob, new Builderitis. This is, you'll be introduced to the sickness that I call new Builderitis. That is where a contractor comes in and they don't have the creativity to know how to reuse what's there. And so the only thing that they can see to do is to tear stuff out and redo it. And unfortunately, this particular property, I did not purchase. I passed on purchasing it because I knew that it was going to be a very fine line to not go too far where you would open up these cans of worms and the city would basically come in and make it so miserable to be able to renovate this thing that you would have to tear down part of the house. And sure enough, this house I passed on. A little bit later, I drive by it and I see that they had to tear down a third of the house. Okay. Yeah, right. So, can of worms. Got to watch out for that kind of stuff. Next is New York. Okay, this property, I had tenants in it. It was perfectly rented. They got mad because we didn't do some sort of maintenance request that they had. It was probably something that, was not something that a landlord needs to do, but we'll get into that a different day. Anyway, they're pissed off. They call in the city. City comes in and finds some wiring issues underneath that was not related to what they were talking about. Anyway, condemned the property. It ended up in a whole thing. I guess now that I'm telling the story without going any deeper, you're probably thinking that, gosh, seems like maybe the tenant had a valid complaint. And now that I'm saying it, maybe they did. Okay, so anyway, that was a $50,000 or $60,000 project that was unexpected on a house that was fully rented. 1814. This was a property that got done fully. Okay, this one I actually hired out, GC'd out instead of managing it myself like I normally do because I had too many projects going on at the time. So I GC this thing out. They do all of the work. And looks great, whatever. We take it to market. The first day we get it on the market, city comes by, puts a red tag on it. Red tag means that you don't get it to build anymore and you need to go through the city, because it turns out this GC that we hired didn't do jack with pulling permits. So they did all this work inside of the walls and such. I mean, new MEP, new roof, new windows, new siding. They did all that work, no permits. City comes in, red tags it. We have to open it all up so they can see it. And sure enough, it wasn't done right inside of the walls. This is something that people face all the time. Okay, next is Bushtown. Oh, no, hang on, not yet, but you're gonna love that story. Shawnee, I have floors. I buy floors from like China or something, they come in shipping containers. So I get them for way cheaper because I'm putting floors in all these places all the time, same floors every house. And so I store them on job sites sometimes for future or whatever. If I'm moving stuff around, I might have a couple of houses going on in a certain neighborhood. And sure enough, this one, they bust out this huge front window, one thing, and then they go steal all my floors. And then next is obey, which they did the same thing. This one was boarded up. I can actually see the little fingers that got underneath the plywood and pulled it off, took out, I mean, it was like $10,000 worth of floors that I had stored at that particular property. No fun. See, because I like to be cheap, and I'm like, well, I don't need a warehouse. You know, I could just store it at all these houses that we have going, and we'll just work around it. Well, sometimes that'll bite you. Next is, Bushtown. This one is phenomenal. Okay. Doing a deal with the wholesaler, and the wholesaler has me meet the landlord, and so we're there, and he's like knocking to try to get in. Nobody's answering, and I'm like, hey, does anybody know that we're coming? He's like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. We go in, and we're walking through the house. Everything's fine, you know. I go down the hallway, I go to this bedroom on the left-hand side, and I see this very large Shaq-looking man, Shaquille O'Neal-looking man, and this little dainty chick next to him in the bed. They're sleeping, and I'm like, yo dude, are we seriously supposed to be here? And he's like, yeah, they know, we gave them notice. And then we go into the kitchen, and dude, there's like AK-47s all the way around the wall, which is fine, you know. Hey, we're in America. If they're legal, they're legal. But then I look on the kitchen table. First, I see a picture of Mr. Shaquille O'Neal looking guy and this little dainty chick so I know it's them that are in the house. And right next to it, I see a softball-sized crack rock. Okay, and then I realize, holy shit, I am in a drug dealer's house. He's sleeping, and he doesn't know I'm supposed to be here, obviously, or he wouldn't have this on the table. So I go running out the front door. It's like one of those auto-locking ones, so I couldn't get out. And, you know, I'm like yelling at the landlord at this point, like, dude, if you don't get me out, I'm breaking the effing window. And sure enough, he got us out. We survived, but it was terrifying, very terrifying. You might want to carry protection around when you're going to look at these different houses. As you can see, there's some wild stories inside of these houses. Okay, Wheat Ridge. Oh, yes. Okay. So this was early on in my career. You got a clogged toilet, you know, and you need to clear it so that way it works. And what you do is you get an auger. I actually, you know, you can rent them from Home Depot. I actually had bought one at that point, and you start augering down, and eventually you hit the thing and you get it out of there, and everything's good to go. I could not find this thing. Like, I just keep sending the auger down, and I'm like, hey, it's clear. I don't know what's going on. I mean, hours of augering, and I cannot get the thing through, you know, like there's nothing to hit. I don't know why it's not working. And, you know, I start hearing, like outside, I hear like this clinking. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And sure enough, I finally realize outside the window, it's the auger head spinning and smacking the window. And because I didn't ever get down into the sewer line, it went up through the vent, through the roof, and out next to the window. So, you know, you live and you learn. Glencoe, Bloody Friday, as I call it. Okay, everybody's going to face this situation where they're like, should I hire subcontractors? Or, oh gosh, I really want to own the crew. I want the crew to work for me. Tough life right there, guys. And you have to be really good at managing, and you have to be good at managing your money and the people, and you really got to know what you're doing. And because a lot of these guys don't, you know, they say they do, but they don't. And anyway, I have like 10 guys working for me at this time, and I'm just like looking at the numbers, every payroll, and I'm like, this does not work. And eventually, this was early in my career, I was at like the end, you know, of the line with the money is the point, and I had to fire everyone. I mean, it was pretty miserable. It was very miserable. Yeah, very miserable. So don't put yourself in those situations. Be smart with the money. Okay. Shootout, Dogwood. Yeah, sure enough. I mean, I'm talking like drive-by shooting happened, inside, outside. Bullets are flying into the house, bullets are flying out of the house. You can, as you're walking through the house, I mean, there's bullet holes everywhere. They had like shot through wires, you know, because it went through the walls. It was like the weirdest renovation I've ever done. This is a tenant turnover. The tenant did move out due to jail, you know, so, or maybe more. And anyway, the weirdest thing, or the worst thing, I guess, is I put a tenant in, and I mean, 3 months later, had to kick them out, and they effed up the property that I just spent, thousands of dollars cleaning up after the shootout. So that's the life of a landlord sometimes. Fallen Star. Yeah, all right. So I sent a crew to do framing. It was scoped out. This is what we're going to do with the framing. We're going to, repair the roof and repair these walls or whatever. I think there were some flooring issues. And I get a picture. I was on vacation. I get a picture from the contractor, and literally they tore it down. I mean, there was no house. It had been demoed. And, that sucks. And there is like the whole scope of work thing. Like, I'm only going to pay for, what they bid or whatever. You got to do change orders. Certainly. However, my house is torn down. So I'm going to have to pay somebody to go fix it. That's over demo is something that catches lots of people. Okay. Next, Arlington. Tree falls through the house. And, whatever, that happens. You have insurance. Things are going to be taken care of, maybe. But this is an important story because I walked through that house and you could see it. The limb is like all the way through, all the way down into the crawl space. Here's the scariest part about that is I would say 18 inches from where that tree went through was a baby's crib. Right. Yeah. Think about that next time it's storming. Okay. Carbon monoxide death. That was me personally. I was in a crawl space. You had the concrete saw cutter, the concrete saw. And, they're like gas powered or whatever. And we're in a crawl space. I had my crew at this time. And, I was getting woozy, cutting this thing. And I'm like, hey, you guys got to go, like I'll do this. And sure enough, I always kind of thought like people who got carbon monoxide poisoning were kind of pussies. But no, I'm not kidding, man. I could not get out of that crawl space. Like I remember trying to get up the stairs and my legs were so heavy. I could not lift. I had to lift them with my hands. And I did get out of the house. You see, what happened is I kept, I knew it was not going well. So I kept going outside to get some fresh air, replenish myself before I come back. But I didn't realize that stuff connects to your blood. And it's not like you don't go back to zero every time you go outside. It kind of sticks with you. So be careful out there. Fake sewer line. Oh, the crap pit. Okay, here we go. Bought a house. I thought that the plumbing was new because there was PVC in the crawl space. That's what you would think, oh, new PVC, great. These people are taking care of stuff. So I just assumed that until I was digging out a French drain and I hit this pit, and the pit was crap. I mean, it was poop in there. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And sure enough, that PVC line, it just poked into the yard. It just 3 feet from the house, it just stopped. And so when they went to the bathroom, it created a pit outside. It was terrible. And the worst part is that, I couldn't get a septic in there and there was no sewer line. It took me 8 months to get the city to bring me a sewer. It was a huge win. They brought me a sewer line, but 8 months of just wasted time. And I was lucky as well. Could have been a lot worse. Pontiac. Bought this house, over renovated the crap out of it. And, I thought that I could make it nice, basically speculating. All the houses in the neighborhood were selling for, mid to high 600,000s. And I thought, well, if I make it this nice, I can sell it for 800,000. Did a pop top, it looked like a drug dealer's house. It was cool. Anyway, put it on the market for $800,000. Sure enough, guys, months later, sold it for mid to high 600s, just like the neighborhood would have indicated if I was smart enough to actually read the statistics. That's a six-figure loss, if you didn't catch that. One of my biggest mistakes ever. Got chased by an old lady with a gun, and this is what happened. I bought her house off market, and we made a deal. This was a very disgusting house, by the way, and it had a very disgusting shed in the back, one of those ones that you might buy from Home Depot or something like that. And she had all kinds of crap in it, and she really loved this crap. She liked to hoard things, just like inside of her house. And I made a deal with her. Hey, I'm going to buy this house for X amount. Okay, I think it was like $20,000 because it was in really bad shape. I'll buy the house for $20,000, but I'll give you an extra, I don't remember, something like $5,000. You know, this was like making the deal is all this was. This isn't actually worth $5,000, but I said, I'll give you an extra $5,000 if you come and take that shed out of here, because I knew I was going to have to get it out anyway. And anyway, she really wanted it, all the stuff in there that she had been storing. And so I gave her the 20, we closed on the property, and then she tried to get the shed out of there, but she had some dummy come there and like chain it up and just basically like tore it to shreds, and all this junk was all throughout the house. And she considered that getting the shed. Obviously, I didn't pay her the $5,000 because she didn't get crap. She left me a bigger mess than I had before. And anyway, she saw me when I was walking to Target with my, not normally a Target guy, I'm a Walmart guy, but anyway, I was walking to Target for this particular day. She was in the parking lot, and I hear her yelling, "You mother effer!" And anyway, she chased me, and I ran from an old lady because she was brandishing a revolver. And so anyway, guys, next. To be clear, she wasn't like waving the revolver. When I bought the house, she had shown me her revolver and how she carried it everywhere. So I made the assumption. All right, I want to be honest about my story here. But I did run. I ran into Target and I went out a back door. Okay. Next is the crapsicle. This house is a duplex. Get a call saying the sewer's not working well. And it was in the middle of winter. And we went there, and sure enough, the sewer line, like the main stack, went through the garage, which was outside. And it froze, and it burst. And when we went into this garage, there were crapsicles everywhere. I mean, the whole sewer line had emptied out into this garage and then froze. Yeah, right. Enough said. Sequatchie, frogging. This is a real thing that happens. Frogging means, well, here, I'll just tell you. My wife actually uncovered this one. Walk into the house. She's like getting it ready for a listing. And she like hears something. She's like, what the hell's going on? And so she gets out of there. Good. And we later get up in the attic and we find out that there were people living up there, like secretly. And, you know, like they had stuff set up. There were beds and such. Right. Maintenance call becomes a $80,000 rental rebuild. Yes, this is the one that I was talking about earlier, where the city came by and they said that this house is unfit. Fully rented house. This house is unfit because there was a crack in the brick. And anyway, this was really a combative thing. I've made a whole video on this one, but they forced this, and then they were trying to force me to take the drywall off, saying that they need to inspect it. Okay, but I knew that once the drywall comes off, I'm exposed to all these other things that might otherwise be grandfathered in. I also know that in that particular jurisdiction, they have a rule that says that if you end up doing more work than 50% of the assessed value of the property, you have to tear the whole thing down. All right. And of course, I would fight that one to the death, but that is the rule if you're just a straight up rule follower. Okay, and I knew that certainly if I took that drywall off and then was exposed to all this stuff, it was going to absolutely be more than half the value. And I still to this day think that maybe that's what they were trying to coax me into doing. I didn't. I fought like hell, guys. Still cost me a lot of money. Still had to do a lot of other things, but that house is happily back as a rental. Clover in a flood zone. And, well, it flooded. and the water was so high in the neighborhood that it was actually like up to the threshold, and the water was just over the top of all the floors. It was crazy. Like, it looked like an island out there. But the tenants didn't want to move out. So they literally boated to their house with water on the floor. And, you know, who am I to say no to something that awesome? Next is the suicide. Yeah, this is sad, guys. But this actually happens. If you own enough rentals, it will happen inside one of the rentals. And, you know, there's a whole process. But told you I'd tell you all the stories that you might be faced with as a real estate investor. And it's not all, by the way. I thought for like multiple days, and just every time I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, that one. How about that one? All right. Next is the plumber who threatened to beat the crap out of me, or maybe worse, physical harm. And I will tell you that there will be these threats, because what's going to happen, just like this guy, is he did really crappy work, okay, that didn't meet the expectations of the scope of work that we had agreed upon. And I said, well, I'm sorry, man, but I can't pay you for that type of crappy work. It's just not what I do. But here are some things that you can do to, you know, raise the bar to where I can pay you. Or I can pay you a lesser amount, even though I'm taking the bad end of the deal there. He didn't like that. And he came up to my office to beat the shit out of me. And, but fortunately, he kind of lost his luster. I guess fortunately for me, he decided not to physically harm me, and we were able to work out a deal. He does, though, take the opportunity to comment sometimes on local ads around here. And if he ever sees any of my guys in the supply houses or the Home Depot, he lets them know that he doesn't like us very much. Anyhow, next is 12th Street. Contractor held up at gunpoint. This will happen as well. You should lock those doors when people are in there working. But this was a worker, subcontractor, got held up at gunpoint, robbed in one of the properties during the project. Also, there's stuff like this that happens all the time, I'll just say, and especially in those certain areas that you're going to be buying in. Here's a hoarder's house. Next one. Hoarder's house that I bought that, well, it was disgusting, I will say. I bought a lot of hoarders houses. This one was particularly disgusting. It took like 10 dumpsters to get everything out of there. But here's why this one was worse than all the others, is that I noticed that there were holes in the bathroom, like in the wall. And, you know, I didn't think anything of it till I found these letters, okay? And these letters were very, you know, hardcore letters, if you know what I'm saying. The big issue with these letters is it was between a mother and a son. Yeah. And then I come to realize that those peepholes, that's what those holes were. And well, there you go, guys. I just realized that we're like 25, 30 minutes into this thing, and I'm not even halfway through my list, and this is clearly going to take way longer than expected. And I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go through, see if there's any other cool things that I might want to share with you, and otherwise I think that I'm gonna go ahead and end with this story here, because I think that you'll just, you don't need to hear all the rest. I'll leave my favorite story for the last. Sorry now about the, I guess you could call this video clickbait now, because I had titled it 71 issues and I didn't make it through the list. And I'm sorry, guys. I plan to. There is a whole list right here. But anyway, here's the final story. And the most important one is this guy named Bubba Hicks. He had an appointment with me for me to go buy his house. I looked him up before I went to his house, and I realized that he had 50 houses that he owned, and he had no mortgages on those houses. That means he owned 50 houses outright. Let's just say at $200,000 each. You can do the math. He was worth a lot of money. And I was like, dang, can't wait to meet this guy. He's going to be able to teach me a lot of things about this game. And I went to the property, and he didn't show up. And I'm waiting, and I noticed that there's this like HVAC service truck sitting in the driveway. And I go up and knock, and I say, hey, I'm supposed to meet Bubba here. By the way, Bubba is not his real name. However, his real name was pretty close, like, similar idea. And he's like, oh man, I'm Bubba. And I was like, okay, didn't expect that for a guy that owns $10 million plus in real estate, owned outright. And he shows me the property. I wasn't able to close the deal because I was kind of perplexed by what the hell was going on, how this guy owned all these properties. So I asked him, dude, 50 houses outright, how the hell do you do it? And he said, oh man, pretty simple. My neighbor, 30 years ago, said they wanted to sell their house. I went up to the bank and I said, hey, will you give me money to buy this house? And the bank gave me money to buy this house. And then another neighbor came and they said they wanted to sell their house. I'm going to go ahead and release the voice here. And sure enough, I went to the bank and asked the bank if they'd give me money to do that one. And they did. And so I took the loan, and then I put a renter in that house. And the renter would pay me, I would pay the mortgage. So then I could do another one. And I did that 50 more times. And sure enough, all of those mortgages that the bank gave me, after 30 years of that, they go to zero. And that's where I'm at today. And that's how real estate works. So, there are 71 things that have been terrible. And I'm sure there's more like 171. It is a battle. Every business is a battle. It is just going to be, there is no easy way. If you want something better for yourself, you're going to have to go through some battles. Or you could take the easy way and you could go serve somebody else. You could go have a job. And that's fine. There's different issues there, I'm sure. I wouldn't know because that path was not for me. So you are going to have these struggles. But here's the thing. Anybody can do this thing, myself included, okay? Living proof that you can get through it. And Bubba Hicks, he came out on the other side and he didn't know jack about investment strategies. He just knew that if I put a renter in that house that pays my bills, I will be richer. I will become more wealthy. The thing that stops everybody is that they just don't take the action. Just take the frickin' action. That's what we're here to do. And we're here to help you guys out. That's why there's a link in the description for the free solo house flipper community that I am very active in, and so are a lot of other people. So I hope to see you there. Have a good day.